Okay, well, welcome into some trading. So the first thing I'm going to look at this morning is Google. And the reason I'm looking at Google is it is getting very interesting in price from two perspectives. One, just buying it in general. But number two, look where we're at here. We're hitting this 100-day moving average. And not only hitting the 100-day moving average, so many times last week I talked about the trend. And there was actually, there's a video that I recorded that's going to be coming out this coming weekend that is about the trend and trusting your trend and making sure the trend is your friend. You're going to hear me say that a million times. And we're finally getting Google to actually begin breaking down in the sweet spot. I don't remember the last time. Let me see this. I don't remember the last time. This was in October of 2023 that we had these magnificent 7 stocks that were starting to fall down like this. So NVIDIA is not falling down right now. I saw a ridiculous stat this morning that, where is that stat? I actually want to read this to you guys. Traders cannot stop betting on NVIDIA. Options on NVIDIA accounted for 25 cents out of every dollar of premium traded. That's just, it's just crazy of what's going on right now. Absolutely crazy. But hey, people are trading NVIDIA, so why would we not pay attention to it? If you remember, I believe it was on Thursday because they reported earnings on Wednesday. They were saying that they were going to, crush revenue and everything. And I was actually looking to short them. Let's go back and let's see what that was. So I'm just going to go over here to my day trading charts. Let's go here. Let's see what we have with NVIDIA. That was Thursday. That was in here. We were looking for a short. Didn't really find it. What we have going on today. And here's the tough part about NVIDIA. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Caterpillar. Let me go NVIDIA. This is where we were looking at it right in here. I'm not really. A lot of what NVIDIA does on a day-to-day basis, it kind of hangs out here in no man's land. No man's land being the area between you. Remember, when you want to go long on a day trading chart, and we'll get more into this in other videos and other live streams, you want to be up in here to go long. You want to be above 80%. This area up in here is going to give you the highest probability to make money, and that's the idea behind this. When you're going short, you want to be down here. This is going to give you the highest probability to make money as the stock price is coming down. And you just don't have that a lot with NVIDIA. It spends a lot of time in no man's land. You do get these big rallies towards the end of the day. You get these big moves at the beginning of the day, back in here if I would zoom the chart out. But yet, for example, look at this. Look at this big candle that you had today. And then it starts its climb. So you get these big moves with NVIDIA, but a lot of it is hanging out in no man's land. That's why it's such a tough stock to day trade. Now, let's go. I want to pull up some of your guys' questions that you guys are filtering in. Let's see here. All right. I added to my CCL short. Ooh, dang. Steve is high on the CCL short. You know, it's funny. I was actually looking at a cruise for the first time ever the other day. I've never actually gone on a cruise. All right. Here's what I noticed about CCL. And I didn't look at anything. All I saw was just one specific thing. This, and I probably drew this last week. I just can't remember. That is a wicked, wicked ugly face pattern that's being created. And what happens with ugly face patterns? Well, let's go over this one more time. We did this last week, but let's go over it again. Your stock price climbs up, right? You hit a peak right here. Okay. You hit that peak. So at this point, when you hit this peak, you cannot see any of this. All right. So what are you looking for next? Well, you're looking for when the stock price starts to come down. So let's draw a little right there. Stock price just starts to trickle down and it creates this bottom. Then the next thing you're looking for an ugly face pattern to be created is the price to trickle its way up. Let me draw it in green. Trickle its way up and run into the exact same spot it ran into over here, right? So there's your kind of, you can see the development of the ugly face happening. And what happens after that? Well, typically you get this big fall and usually it goes below this level. So Steve is short right now. It's snapping back a little bit. You can see that, but there's a lot of momentum here and from the volume side. And over here, you're facing all of these major moving averages that you have to get through. It's going to be very hard to continue to push against the 100, 200, and 25-day moving average. So, Steve, I think you're actually making a pretty good play right here. No reason to panic. Notice he's not panicking. And this is something that you guys you new folks should learn. Steve's been doing this for quite some time. Even though you're getting this, he's not panicking. He's actually saying, I'm holding tough right here. I'm not worried about it. And why? Because you need these to be created. You need these. What did we talk about last week? M formations coming down. You need these M formations. You want to start keep creating these lower highs, and it just keeps moving down, down, down. And that is exactly what I'm seeing there. And I think that's a great, great trade. Good job, Steve. Very good job. All right. Could love be on its way to an ugly face? Let's see. Southwest Airlines. Southwest Airlines. So I'm going to have to zoom this out to see an ugly face. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to blow up this chart. I'm actually going to remove the volume from here for now, just because I don't want to see it. X. There we go. Okay. All right. So, yeah. So what Bailey's saying is, am I seeing an ugly face pattern developing here? It's possible. Or what you would want to see is this get to probably about that level right in there. Okay. Are we really seeing that? I don't know, Bailey. It's possible. It's very possible. Let's even just zoom it out more. And what I'm really looking for are kind of 50% rules. So where's my 50% there? So it eclipsed that 50%. The next big one is here. I'll draw it in a different color so you can really see it. And it's probably there. Yep, and there's that level. So yeah, you might, Bailey, it might not even get to the 50% point. It might just kind of run out of steam right here and turn down, because if I get rid of these orange lines, you can really see. I'm so happy this isn't chalk. I would not be using this board. I got texture issues. All right. That's your 50% rule. So all of this right here is all what we call overhang. It's just pushing down, pushing down. We talked about this a lot, I believe, last Tuesday. So Bailey's thinking maybe it'll get to here. I don't know about that. It's just because that pattern is so powerful. So powerful. All right. Let's go with another one. I panicked a little bit. I checked myself. Very good. Very good. Good morning, Pedro. LABU this morning. So before I switch to the LABU chart, what is LABU? LABU is a 3-time levered biotech ETF. So what does that mean? We can talk about data today, or maybe we can talk about them later this week. Let me just pull up a Yahoo Finance real quick, just so I can show you guys the betas. So let's start with the S&P, SPY. So if you come down here, you'll notice this little thing called beta. And this one is 1. So what does that mean? This is the benchmark. This is the benchmark ETF for the stock market, obviously. 1 means that it is the market. So whatever this moves, that's just your kind of baseline for the market. Now, if you go to something like an AT&T, AT&T is a very non-volatile stock. I call it a dinosaur stock. It doesn't move very much, and you can see the beta here is 0.71. So what does that mean? So if the S&P moves 1 time, this is going to move 0.7 times. So it moves slower than the stock market. It's a very tough stock to trade because it moves so slowly. It's not an ideal thing. Is it safer? Yes. Are you going to get as many gains? No. And it's going to be a very boring process for you. Now, if you go to something like an LABU, which is a 3-time levered ETF, meaning that it moves 3. So you can see today, this is up 7 point, let's call it 8%. Okay, let's just say that it's 8%. So if you look at the real ETF of the S&P Biotech, it's probably up 2.5, maybe 2.5% positive. This is just levered. So there's more to it. It's faster. It's more fun, a lot more risky though. You can see the beta here is 2.19. So this moves about double the market speed. Double the market speed. If you look at something, let's look at an NVIDIA. Let's see what NVIDIA is right now. NVIDIA's beta is 1.68 because they have been pretty volatile for the past couple of months. This is going to fluctuate, of course, but it's almost 2 times the market. So when you're looking for stock to trade, if you're an experienced person, you can go above 2. I think that that's fine. You can get into 3. If you get into 4, it's really, really fast. I would not go below 1. It just makes it very challenging, and you don't get a lot of volume, you don't get a lot of movement, or you get a lot of volume that's just constant push pull volume. So be careful with that. Just a pro tip for you guys. If you're new, 1.5, 1.75 betas, I would look for, and you can find these on Yahoo Finance. It's really pretty straightforward and pretty simple. All right. Oh, back to LABU. Now I'm going to pull up LABU. So LABU, this is something that I would never be in overnight. This is strictly a day trading stock for me. I don't wanna have any of this insane volatility. They split often. There's just constant movement going on with the stochastic. You often have these big gaps. You often have big wicks on them because it's just a constant change. Back when I was day trading full time, I traded LABU almost exclusively. It was LABU and LABD. So LABD is the inverse. So what I would do, I would come on here in the morning and I would see, okay, what's LABU doing? Is it is it up here? Can I go and buy it? Okay, well, no, it wasn't today. So let's say that LABU was coming towards this direction. Well, you can't short something like this. It's going to cost you a lot of money in margin. But what can you do? You can go to what's called an inverse. An inverse is the opposite. So this does the exact opposite of LABU. So if you want to go long, if LABU is up, let's see. LABU, what was it up? 7.75%? 7.75% positive. This is LABU. Well, LABD, the opposite, is going to be, this is plus, this is minus 7.75%. And because you can only go long on these, if you want to short LABU, what do? You would come over to LABD and buy it going long because it's the inverse. So my advice for new people, be very careful with A, time levered in ETFs, and B, inverse ETFs. The great thing about inverse ETFs is if you don't have a margin account or you're new and you can't short, they don't let you short. Well, you can short because you can do inverses, which be, don't be afraid of shorting. I'll do a whole shorting seminar sometime in March on one of these live streams. I'll just talk about shorting and that's all we'll do. It is not that scary. There might be people in the comments here that are like, shorting is dangerous. Shorting is dangerous if you go at it from a perspective of saying, I don't have any stops in place. I don't have any margin of safety in there. I don't know any patterns, anything. I can lose infinite amount of money. Yeah, you absolutely can. But if you do it in a methodical method with rules that I'll show you and walk you through, it is literally taking a chart and flipping it upside down. If I could take this entire monitor and flip it upside down, that's all we're doing. It's exactly the same thing as going long. All right. I'm still in a KRE short long. So let's go back to our long-term chart. And let's go KRE. These are the regional banks. Regional banks. No reason to exit this short. And why do I say that? Who asked that question? Patrick. Why do I say that? Because of this. The trend is still in your favor. And honestly, this trend is in your favor. This is the long-term trend. The short-term trend is in your favor too, which is great. And the biggest thing for KRE right now is going to be, can we break through this 100-day moving average, then 200-day moving average? If this breaks through both moving averages, better hang on to your bippy because this thing is going to fall. I'm telling you. And honestly, where are we? What this is 227. Mid-March is when the regional banks happen. That's when they go and do their stress test and everything. And if some of those regional banks don't pass their stress tests, like Silicon Valley didn't last year, and First Republic, and a bevy of others, better watch out because this can get hit hard. Now, if they pass their stress test with flying colors, yeah, it can go the other way. But things are not looking good for the regional banks right now. Nobody talks about that. Nobody was talking about it last year either. And they tried to brush that under the rug as best they could. And when you look at XLF, G's is right. Nick just said G's. I have not seen anything like this. I mean, think about where we are in the economy right now. And trading doesn't have anything to do with it, but you think about all the problems that are out there, the potential problems, I should say, that are out there, and you have basically 100% strength in your banks since the beginning of the year. Okay, that's fine. It doesn't really matter. If you can get something on this, I would just wait for a new breakout, which is probably an all-time high, or at least it's definitely a 52-week high. Just keep running with it because your power stock right now, we've talked about it a bunch of times, Overall, 4 major moving averages, making new highs. This is actually probably just creating, let's pull up a line chart. This is probably just creating a really nice W formation. Probably all it's doing. Yep, sure is. So if we go back to November, right in here, let's do this so y'all can see it better. If we go back to November, here was your big run, and you just started creating these W formations and just kept climbing higher and higher and higher. And it right now, what is it doing? Just pulling back, probably so it can go higher. So you have a ton of strength in this thing. Do not look to short this. You're absolutely crazy if you try to short this. I'm telling you right now. Planning, yeah, I already checked Google. Um, Google for me is exciting for multiple reasons. It's looking real good from a value and frankly um, trading perspective. I love this. I absolutely love this. I have not seen, well, and we'll check the Magnificent Seven here. I have not seen something look like this from one of the Magnificent Seven in quite some time. I mean, Meta, think about it. Meta just keeps flying. Google, it was flying. It got up to 152, $153 as of the last 2, 3 weeks. Apple, kind of hanging around that 180 number. I don't expect it to go much lower than that. Tesla, I don't even include in there anymore because Tesla's a disaster. Nvidia, obviously, all-time highs, not getting anywhere, not going anywhere soon to the downside. Let's look at Tesla real quick. I did get a notification in my app, my Tesla app, that they are gonna be increasing the cost of cars. I believe it's on May 5th, but it might be on May 1st. So they're imploring owners of cars to send send non-owners an opportunity to go test drive a car, and they're gonna give me points towards a store where I can buy stuff or something like that. So, um, yeah. Oh, well, if you want to, I'll send it to you. Nick just said he wants to go rip around in a Tesla. Tell him you want the Plaid. It's fast. Alright, let's see what Tesla's doing. So, Tesla, this is a tough one, because I look at this and say, "Well, here was a 50%, right? We're kind of at it, but we broke through it very confidently." So, I'm not even counting this as a 50%. Now I'm just looking at it saying, "I wonder if this was my top level and this is my bottom level, and now it's just gonna kind of consolidate in here." It's gonna go above, it's gonna go below, but it's gonna kinda spend most of its time here between probably 200 and 220. That's kinda what it seems like is happening. You're gonna have some volatility in there, but the most important thing about Tesla right now is you have dropped below all 4 major moving averages. You're back above the 25 here. You can see that purple line that continues on, but it's dropped below all 4 major moving averages. That's pretty crazy. Alright. What other questions do you guys have? Please send them over. I wanna look at NVIDIA this morning. Let's see here. Okay, NVIDIA. Jesus, right. Just it's never ending here. Um, they pay a dividend. Oh, okay. They pay a dividend March 5th, so I'm assuming that's next week. Um, interesting. Very interesting. What I mean, we're at 94%. First, let me point that out. We're not going anywhere soon. But you've had 4 so you've had your last 8 days. This is crazy. You've had your last 8 trading days. There has been more selling volume on 7 out of the 8 last days, and what was the green day? That was earnings day. That was the day that it just kinda jumped up here. So, 7 out of your last 8 it's a lot of profit taking, and that's probably why you're getting that turnover right there, and that's probably why you're getting that turnover right here and the trap door is open. We'll talk about trap door in a different show, but pay attention to this thing. I'm not saying it's gonna fall. It's just a couple of things I think what's probably gonna happen, it's probably gonna go like this, and it's gonna turn right back up. And this is probably gonna close here, and it's gonna probably reverse back up. And once it starts making new all-time highs again, I'll draw it in green like that, you can probably go and take some kind of position in it, but it's probably just taking a little bit of breather, people are taking profits, etcetera. Man, This is crazy. NVIDIA is a crazy one. Let's look at Apple. Let's make sure it was down. Trend is down. I told you last week. I think that it's below all 4 major moving averages, but this is such a strong consolidation area. Let's actually go long term with this just so we can see the entire pattern. So here's kind of where we're at, and you can see it's at this peak right here. So what do you notice here? I think that we're gonna probably stay pretty strong here. Now, if the entire market starts to fall apart and NVIDIA will lead the way because NVIDIA is effectively the market right now, then yes, this will start to come down and it'll have a strong hold around 165. If it drops below 165, it's probably gonna come down here to 155, 145, 140, whatever it is, and you'll probably get back to these levels. I don't think you'll go much lower than 120, but I don't think that we're gonna see any movement below this 180 level with, are they at 180 now? Are they at 179? 181. It's gonna be hard to drop below that. It really is. When you talk about earnings and you know the other stocks move with it, would you say the rule applies to not be in it or take profits, example, and no. So this is that's a great question. Basically what he's saying is, and I'm gonna use his example. He's in CCL. This is Steve. He's in CCL. Should I Norwegian Cruise Line or Royal Caribbean. Let's say that they're reporting on what's today's date? 27th? Okay, so today is 2/27. And let's say that Royal Caribbean RCL is reporting today and he's in CCL. Has nothing to do with this really except that it's in the same industry. He's saying, "Should I reduce my shares on CCL because this is reporting and often when they report it affects this in turn?" I would say no. Don't worry about it. Be aware of it, but I wouldn't because here's what's gonna happen. There's gonna be an initial reaction. People are gonna say, "Oh my god, RCL, RCL sold less um, cruises." Okay, cool. It's gonna probably hit CCL a little bit, and then after the excitement and the emotion is over, they're gonna be like, "Well, wait a second, that doesn't affect us at all. Our sales are perfectly fine," and it's gonna go right back up. So we'd actually look at that to take advantage of some stuff. NCLH reported today. NCLH. So Norwegian here, Norwegian jumped today. As you can see, they're up 14.5%. And if you remember, we checked earlier in the show, CCL is up 6.29%. It's because of the reaction. But what do you notice about CCL right here? Let's zoom in as close as we can. It's almost as if there's wicks on the top and the bottom. It's almost as if it moved because NCLH moved. So let's go to NCLH again. NCLH's wicks are not even close to the ones that were on. Let's see if I can draw this here. This is kind of what the other one looked like. This is a lot more. I mean, this is almost like an engulfing candlestick that I wouldn't mind buying if it was an earnings day, just to make sure everybody knows that if it was an earnings day. So, um, great question, Steve. Great question. It's important to know that. All right. Macy's. I think it's just M, right? Dang, they reported earnings today. Beat on top and bottom line. Big engulfing candlestick. So honestly, let's see, let me pull up my whiskers just so I can get a better. Okay, Macy's is pushing on. This is a company that was near dead. I mean, what did they get to during 2020? They were at like yeah, $2 and I'm sorry, $4 a share. They were back then. Then they ran up to this high of 38. Now they're down to 20 after going down to like 10 or 9 or whatever it was. So the only thing I would look for here, weak, but kind of an ugly face pattern. It's weak, but it's kind of an ugly face. If this volume doesn't continue and sustain itself after after today's report, let's say this happens. Remember, guys, volume is the energy of the car. You're getting some good volume today, abnormal volume. It is 10:30 in the morning, and you already have average volume. That's not normal. Okay, you're probably end the day somewhere up here in volume, which is not normal. So what has to happen is let's say that this finishes the day up here. I wanna see kind of this the next couple, so above average volume. If it goes like this, and then tomorrow is kinda down here and it just keeps declining, it's not gonna hold up here. The ugly face is going to, show its face, and you're gonna get that fall in price. So, everything right now is volume. Everything is volume. Macy's plans on closing 150 stores. Wow, that's a lot of stores. How many stores do they have? What stochastic indicator and time frame are you using? So I'm looking at the weekly on this side, and I'm looking at the daily on this side. Okay. Tesla, we talked about ALB. I think we looked at ALB last week, if I'm not mistaken. ALB. Um, ALB, let's see. I don't really see a lot in this one, and anytime that I really kinda pause and start looking for something, it's because I'm trying to look for something, and this is the only thing I see here. Consolidation that happened back here in 2018, and this is how far I look back because it is important, and right now, you're kind of at that same level. It's just gonna be hard to break through that same level because there's no support in here. There's no support in here. Can you start moving up? Yeah, but look at the M formations that happened as you came down. Those are gonna be so hard to break through. So as you go up, it's just gonna run into steel I-beam, boom. Then if it breaks through there, it's gonna get not gonna get very far, and then it's like boom. So it just has all these very hard levels to get through to keep climbing up. I would attach my, saddle to a different horse. This is just too hard of a trade. Too hard of a trade. If you wanna look from a day trading, yeah, even over here, volume's declining. It's number 1 over the last 5 days. Number 2, it's a gap. I don't know why it's a gap, but let's see if it can hold the 50 because I have a feeling it's gonna come back down like this. Why? Because look at all these wicks that are built in here. It's just a very uncertain stock, and you're already getting those wicks created today. So, I would just find another stock. That's what I would do. Put yourself in a position to have probability on your side before you even make the trade. It makes things a lot easier. WFC is on a run the last few days. Okay. Wells Fargo, is that right? Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. Wells Fargo is on a run. Um, a really nice run. Is it all-time highs? No. I wanna just zoom out as far as I just wanna get some context here. Okay, this is interesting. I'm glad I moved back this far because this right when I just looked at this looked really good. It looked like it was on a great run. It's getting volume, stochastics on my side, everything. But when I zoom it out and I come back to 2014, 2015, what do you notice? There, all in here, consolidation, came up here, peaked, hit there, came up here, peaked through, but landed at the same spot. So this is saying to me, all right, it seems like 54.74, $55 is kind of a really strong resistance point. Can it break out over? Absolutely. There's no reason that it can't. It probably will with the strength that it has. But you need to have in your mind that over the last almost 10 years, call it, 54.75 or $55 has been an extremely strong resistance point for this stock. It's almost like Bristol Myers and AbbVie. Bristol Myers do the same thing. Bristol Myers has shown that it just has a very difficult time breaking through this $72 level, and it does get up here, but every time it hits, like, 78, it just falls right back down. That's Bristol Myers, and this is going back to 2015. Um, AbbVie is the other one. AbbVie. AbbVie over the past couple of years, it hits this peak, and it just can't break through this 177.80 level, 178, whatever it is. So with Wells Fargo, be careful with that one. It's on a nice run, but just be careful. Be aware that 54.75, $55, whatever you want to call it, I don't know the exact number, is a very, very tough thing to get through. All right, Microsoft. Microsoft is making all-time highs, if I'm not mistaken. It's probably just chilling out and consolidating. Yes. interesting here. So we're still getting that kind of that roll down that we talked about, right? It's not that this is a short, not that it's a long-term short, but we're starting to see that same thing that's happening with NVIDIA. Google's down here, but we're starting to see these not breakdown, but a little bit of maybe profit-taking weakness. I don't think it's weakness, it's more like profit-taking of these big guys, Magnificent Seven, and that's what you're seeing right here. So I think it's profit-taking. I think you're probably here. You're not really getting very far. I wanna check my stocks now, okay? I'm gonna check Bank of America. Consolidating, I'm not gonna do anything with this. What I wanna see with Bank of America, I wanna see it break over the top of that wick. Can it break over the top of that wick? Um, it's very 50%-ish right now, but that's what I'm looking for there. Beazer Homes is a stock that I often trade. I need it to break below this wick that happened February 2nd for me to have any confidence. The one thing I do like here is the weakness that's happening. It's just that you can see the decline in volume. It's just an angle down, so I love that from a shorting perspective. FCX, copper, breaking down, probably need to break below 37.40. It's probably where I wanna be. And, I wanna look at Moderna. Nothing really there, and I wanna look at, Regeneron. So Regeneron is moving. Power stock, it's an all-time high. Almost $1,000 a share, I think. Yep, 985. So HBI is slowly moving. HBI is Hanes brand. This is gonna be a hard one to you can go long on it, but it's gonna be a hard one to short if anything happens just because it's gonna be hard to borrow. Hanes brand is moving. Um, I'd personally find another stock. There's just nothing about this that I'm seeing that I'm getting excited about at this moment in time. At this moment in time. What does a decline in volume indicate? Great question. Participation is not really there, and so let's go what was I using? Where did I just look at? What was that? Microsoft, was it? What was I just looking at that was, a deceleration in volume that I just drew? Somebody let me know. Okay, yeah, I was doing the same thing. No. Was it AbbVie? No. ALB? Mm, if it was not ALB, ALB is a good example. So what does this mean? What does this deceleration in volume mean? It just means that there's less buyers. And what do you want to see if you're going long on something? You want to see buyers. You want to see people coming into this thing. And if this is my volume, I want to see this. That's today. I want to see this tomorrow. I want to see this the next day. Ideally, I want to see this the next day. And you just see that increase in volume. Why? Because it tells me that there's a lot of participation. There's a lot of people coming in. There's a lot of people buying it up, and it gives me a higher probability to make money. If I start seeing this, what does this mean? Well, it means there's probably profit taking that's happening. It means that that guy over there, he's not buying. That guy over there, he's not buying. And eventually, I'm going to run out of steam. Like I'm running out of steam up here. Anybody watch NASCAR? This is a great example. So if you look at super speedways, Daytona 500 just happened not this past weekend, but the past weekend. You have a a draft that happens. So you have all these cars going in a circle, and here's one car, and they're just like face to butt. That's basically what they are. And you try to get they're usually going too wide, okay, and they're touching. And you have somebody that tries to break away. You have a lone car that comes out here and he tries to break away from the pack. And these guys are doing about 200 miles per hour. This guy gets up here and he tries to stay by himself away from the draft. It's not going to work because he doesn't have all of the push that these guys are having. These guys are basically the volume or that keep pushing these guys. This guy's getting out here in no man's land. He doesn't have anybody pushing him. He doesn't have anybody pulling him. He's going to, when he comes around some turn, he's going to get caught flown by those guys because he might be going 202 miles per hour now, but he's eventually going to drop to 185 or 190 or whatever it is, and he's going to get past. It's kind of like the same thing. You have to have the momentum going with you, and all of those people together are the people in the draft that are kind of pulling you along. If you don't have that, you're going to be this guy who's going to end up all the way back here. It's a really good example. I just came up with that on the fly. All right. Hopefully that answers your question, Patrick. And why does the stock keep going up without volume? It can keep going up without volume. Don't get me wrong. If you have, look at this right here. You have, this is a great example because the stock does keep going up without volume. Your stock is going up, but remember, what is volume? So you have 1.3, let's call it 1.4 million trades per day that are happening right now. Right now, we're at 1 point. You know what? Let's just take the 3 million trades per day. Okay. If you have an average volume that comes in of for that day, not an average volume. If you have volume of today that comes in for 1.5 million and 1.3 million of that 1.5 was buying, even though it's less than average volume, stock price is still going to move up, right? This is the reason why I don't like trading stocks that have less than a million shares traded, because I can go in and have 200,000 shares of average volume on a stock that is a dollar. And if I want to go in there and I want to buy $150,000 worth of the stock, I'm going to move the market. And the day that I sell, I'm going to move the market down because there's no way that there's going to be enough push and pull against me if I'm selling 150,000 out of 200,000 average. And that is why I don't like trading those kind of stocks. I like having a million or more. So even though you're less than average, this is half of this. If 1.3 out and you only have 200,000 shares being sold, this is going to win. And that's why your stock price still goes up. It's all about just a push and pull. Thanks, Roger. Perfect. Perfect, Patrick. And Z Honeybee, let me know if that makes sense. You can always have stocks going up and it's just number of buyers that are actively there. All right. Let's do a couple more. Amazon. Amazon is one I wanted to look at today because Amazon was getting to that consolidation area, and I said, "Probably not gonna break out of this area. We're gonna probably push, pull around a lot in here, but eventually, if we get enough buyers in there, more than average buyers, like we just talked about, consistently more than average, this thing will break out and it'll go to these new highs." I just don't think that there's a lot of confidence in this market right now. People are seeking shelter for some reason with NVIDIA. That's about it. Mo, video over the weekend was great. Thanks. Oh, perfect. We have video content coming out each weekend. I believe it comes out on Sundays. So you will get another video this week and recording another one too. Okay. Thanks so much. I'm glad that you got that Z Honey Bunny or Z Honey Bee. All right. Let's see. One thing I actually did want to look at on the show today is crypto. What? Oh, 57,000. Congrats, crypto people. You are back, baby. Where do we get to here? 68,000, was it? Yeah, 69,000. All right. Great example, guys. This is just something. Ignore this crypto. It doesn't really matter. Here's your ugly face pattern. You can see what was the fallout. Just patterns. So when I'm looking at something like this, I think this is too wide to be an ugly face. Let's say that this thing gets up here. I just think it's too wide. I don't think it's realistic, but it's there is strength in crypto right now. And the one thing I do like about what I'm seeing, you're just seeing these moves that are happening, and you're just noticing support, 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 support. Now, I don't know how that support works in the crypto world. I don't typically trade a lot of crypto, but yes. All right. I saw the video. Thanks. Oh, perfect. Perfect. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. Um, Please write down your questions that you have and bring them on Thursday. We'll go over a lot of different stuff. What I would really like to do, maybe next week, maybe this week, maybe next week. It just depends how I feel, I think. We'll go over shorting. Probably only be about 15, 20 minutes of me just rambling on, and I'll take some of your questions. But I want to show you guys, I really want to emphasize to you guys that shorting and going long, and this is probably there's probably somebody who's going to be like, that's a totally incorrect statement. Okay. Caveat. I do understand that shorting and going long are two different things. So I'm sure you'll omit that when you do a video review, but Let's just get that on record. So I want to show everybody that when you reverse this chart, just completely flip it over, it's exactly the same thing. And I'm actually probably going to take some screenshots and flip them over and show you guys it's exactly the same thing. If you want to be able to make money in the stock market trading, you need to be able to go short and you need to be able to go long. You need to have the confidence to do both. You're going to make a hell of a lot more money going short than you are going long. Why? Because stocks fall faster. As long as you have those stops in place and those like emergency emergency what am I looking for here? As long as you have stops in place and you know that you cannot lose past a certain amount, you're fine. And we'll go over all of that. So, guys, I really appreciate your time today. Please bring questions to Thursday at 10 a.m.'s live stream. It's going to be great. New content coming out Sunday morning, which you'll have. You guys have a great rest of your day.